Hedy Lamarr, the Hollywood star who invented the future. Hedy Lamarr was called the most beautiful woman in the world. She starred in blockbuster films, turned heads wherever she went, and get this, she invented the technology that makes Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS possible. She wasn't just a movie star, she was a genius, a wartime inventor, a rebel who refused to be just a pretty face, and yet nobody took her seriously. So how did a Hollywood actress end up designing military tech that changed the world? And why did it take decades for anyone to recognize her brilliance? Hedy Lamarr was born in Austria in 1914, and while other kids were playing with toys, Hedy was taking apart clocks to see how they worked. Her father was an intellectual and taught her about machines, engineering, and how the world really worked. By the time she was a teenager, she was obsessed with how things functioned. The problem was, the world was obsessed with how she looked instead. By 16, she was acting in movies. By 18, she was infamous. Why? Because in 1933, she became the first actress in history to appear completely nude on the screen. But Hedy wasn't interested in being famous. She was interested in being free. So when she married a controlling Austrian arms dealer who sold weapons to the Nazis, she realized she had to escape. And when I say escape, I mean full-blown espionage. One night, at a dinner party, she drugged a maid, stole her clothes, and fled the country. In 1937, she landed in Hollywood, reinvented herself, and became a superstar overnight. She starred alongside legends and was adored, worshipped, and completely bored out of her mind. Because while everyone saw her as a public figure, she was busy inventing the future. See, Hedy spent her free time tinkering, engineering, and solving problems, not just in movies, but in warfare. At the height of World War II, she learnt that Nazi submarines were torpedoing Allied ships. Their secret weapon? Radio-controlled torpedoes. The problem was, the signals could easily be jammed. So Hedy, being Hedy, decided to fix it. She teamed up with a composer named George Antheil, yes, a pianist, and together they designed frequency hopping. The idea, instead of radio-controlled torpedoes sticking to one frequency, the signal would jump between frequencies, making it impossible to track or block. Brilliant, simple, and game-changing. She patented the invention in 1942, but the US Navy ignored it. Why? Because, and I quote, she should stick to being a movie star. As time passed, Hedy's fame faded, Hollywood moved on, and her brilliant invention left to gather dust, until decades later. In the 1960s, the US military finally started using frequency hopping in secure communications. By the 90s, her work became the foundation for Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS. Everything we rely on today, she helped make possible. And yet, for most of her life, nobody credited her. Until 1997, 55 years after her invention, when she finally received an award for her contributions to technology. Her response? Well, it's about time. What a legend. And what can we learn? Hedy Lamarr wasn't just a pretty face, she was a visionary. A lady who saw what others couldn't. Her story proves that brilliance can come from anywhere. That society underestimates people who don't fit the mold. That sometimes the greatest ideas come from the most unexpected places. Are you willing to think beyond what others expect of you? Because the real innovators, they don't wait for permission. They build the future. And you can too.